Hello and welcome to another episode of Truly Twisted. As always, I'm your host, Alicia Watson, and every Thursday I bring you a story that is victim-focused and fact-based. Now, today I am honored to have the mother of the girl that I'm talking about with me, and the first guest of Season 3, Jo Ann Lowitzer. I had the honor of meeting with her at Crimecon this past May and learning about Ali's story, so welcome, Jo Ann, to the show, and thank you again so much for being here.
Well, thank you so much for having me.
It's honestly, it's an honor and my pleasure. And I just want to start by asking you to, introduce yourself, a little bit about you.
Okay. Well, my name is Jo Ann Lowitzer. I live in Spring, Texas, which is a suburb just north of Houston. My daughter, Alexandria, she stepped off of her school bus in 2010 and was supposed to walk to work for the first time, and she disappeared, literally vanished. And I've been on this journey for 16 years now, and hoping that one day I'll find the right person, or help someone's conscious and move along to tell us what happened to her.
Yeah. So is it okay if I refer to her as Ali? I know that her name was Alexandria. Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
So can you start by telling me a little bit about, Ali as a kid and, kind of like your guys' upbringing in Spring, Texas?
Sure. So we moved to Spring, Texas, and bought our first house in the year 2000. And both of my kids were in school already. So Allie has a brother that's 2.5, 3 years older than her. And so when we moved in this house, they were both in elementary school. And I would consider it to be blue collar, you know, um, definitely working class type of neighborhood. Um, Everybody, basically had to work to live. When Allie was little, um, she was very bright, always singing and smiling and drawing and creating things, even when she was little. And anything that her big brother was doing, she wanted to do it too. So instead of being a Barbie girl like I hoped she would be, because I was, she wanted to play with his video games and follow him and his friends around and stuff like that. So not necessarily like tomboyish, but she was not a girly girl. On occasion, I did get her to wear a dress.
Oh, that's so sweet. And it sounds like her and her brother got along pretty well. Was he okay with her kind of tagging along?
Sometimes. Yeah, sometimes she would become annoying, and he'd say, "Mom, Allie this or Allie that," So they had I feel like the typical relationship. I'm the younger of two sisters, so I know how it is, wanting to do what my sister's doing. But yeah, I think they had the typical relationship.
Oh, that's so sweet. And it sounds like a beautiful upbringing. Now, I understand that on the day that Allie had disappeared in 2010, she was going to pick up her paycheck at a local burger barn that she worked at. and see if she
Mhm.
could pick up a shift for that evening, right? Did
Correct.
Allie typically walk anywhere? Like, I know myself as a teenager, before I would drive, I would walk to, my friend's house, or sometimes I would have to walk to work. And in the age of cell phones being what it was in 2010, like, obviously you guys could communicate that way. Was Spring, Texas, like, okay of a neighborhood that way, in your opinion?
Well, it was much better, when we first moved here. There, the we saw an uptick in crime after some hurricanes hit different parts of the Gulf Coast. And, when people are displaced by hurricanes and floodwaters, they typically move. And I don't know why they picked our area, but we had a lot of people that were misplaced and put in our area. But, so we do have, they call it Section 8. So there's some Section 8 housing and not very many apartments. But there's always, we moved up here to Spring because there was more trees. It wasn't like rural, but it wasn't a concrete jungle, like what we were used to in Pasadena, which was on the other side of Houston. So we moved up here because it was nicer. And then, I think with every um, subdivision that's close to a big city, I mean, you're going to see growth. And, with growth comes, more population and crime, unfortunately. But yeah, so she didn't walk places. She had just turned 16. And typically when she would hang out with her friends, they were over here at my house. And she had one or two friends in the neighborhood, and they would walk over. But as far as her walking to work, it was the very first time. And I feel that that is significant because she never asked to walk to work before. My mother would typically be over here at my house when she got this job to be able to take her to work, and then I would pick her up. Yeah, so that was her very first time to walk to work, and I was very reluctant, because she wasn't scheduled to work, but she was very adamant about picking up her paycheck. And she begged and begged and begged and begged me, said all the right things, pushed all the right buttons, and I reluctantly gave in. And that's pretty emotional for me because that's like the biggest regret of my entire life. Because if I feel that if I would have told her no, like I said at the beginning, then I would still have her.
There's nothing that anybody can say to remove, that feeling of guilt for you, but there's no way that you would have ever known that this would have happened. And you said that she was pretty persistent about walking to go get her paycheck. Was there something that she was saving up for, or something that she was really eager to get that, that couldn't wait for a later date?
Um, Not anything in particular, I believe, but she was very adamant about walking to work because she also wanted to see if she could work.
Mhm.
I know she was trying to work as much as she could to save up her money. We did let her open up a savings account, and because the deal was, you get a paycheck and you can spend some money but put some money away. She had already bought herself this bed set. It was fuzzy, like that. Do you know what minky is? The real soft, cuddly
Yep.
fabric. But she had bought herself a bed set that was hot pink, and it had some green accent pillows that was made of the minky material, and she was really proud of herself because she bought that. And I may have chipped in a buck or
Aw.
two, to help her get that. But it was just stuff like that. And I know, she was looking forward to driver's education that summer and getting her braces off. So, just that young, you know, teenage independence, I know she was looking forward to that.
Absolutely, and it sounds like she was very responsible and very, like, wanting to work as much as possible, and you guys were teaching her all the right things, save up a little bit of it, but, you get to do fun stuff with that as a teenager. I personally decorated my room as well with my first paycheck, so I can relate. That's a very sweet story. Was Allie dating anybody at the time of her disappearance or that you know of?
Yeah, she had a new boyfriend. He was over the day before, so she went missing on a Monday. So her boyfriend DJ was over most of the day on Sunday. So they had been out front skateboarding, and um, she was learning to play the guitar. So I think they were messing around on the guitar and played video games or watched the movies, stuff like that.
Typical teenage stuff.
Yeah.
And what was your did you was their relationship good in your eyes? Like, no red flags in your opinion as a mom?
No red flags from him. As a matter of fact, when when I showed up at his house that evening looking for Allie, he said he had also tried to be calling and texting her as well. And when we started doing ground searches for her, he came up there several days and spent time with me at command center.
Now, my understanding is that Allie's phone was turned off shortly after after she had gotten off the bus and started walking because she never made it to Burger Barn. And from what I saw in a recent interview with you, you had tracked those pings yourself, is that right?
I did.
Very
Um,
cool.
so the AT&T plan that I had, I could see wherever Allie's phone was. So, you know, I would, when I first got that plan, because, so let me back up a little bit. She had just gotten that phone for Christmas, and she went missing in April. So she'd only had that phone for 4 months. I wanted her to be responsible with it, and not use it at school, and all that good stuff. But that's not going to happen. But the plan that I had was called Family Map, and so after she went missing, and we couldn't find her, I had to borrow somebody's computer because we didn't have one at home. It was DJ's that I borrowed, so I logged into my account, and the last place that her phone pinged was right here where the bus let out.
And so do you think in your opinion that she turned off her own phone, or do you think that something happened right then and there?
Oh no, I don't think she turned off her phone. I think somebody else turned it off or took out the battery or disabled it somehow.
Yeah. Because the last confirmed sighting of Allie is somebody said that they had seen her walking and they thought it was strange that she was wearing a hoodie, right?
Yes,
Because it was quite warm that day.
it was warm. Yeah. Um, so in in the southeast Texas where we are, it typically reaches high 80s, if not low 90s, by mid-April. Like right now it's June, and there was a triple digit heat index going on right now. So Allie would always have her jacket with her. I think it was kind of like a security thing. She had very low self-esteem because she used to be to picked on in junior high school, and her weight would fluctuate, and kids, when they want to be mean, if you have just a little bit of chubbiness to you, they're gonna poke fun at you. And so I think, ever since then, she wore that hoodie as a security blanket type of thing. Plus being in school and stuff, schools get cold with the AC on.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So
And you and I can both agree that being a teenage girl is very hard, for sure. So, that makes
definitely.
me sad to hear that she was being picked on for stuff like that. When
Yeah.
looking at photos of her, she was beautiful.
Well, thank you.
I very much relate to the black eyeliner of it all because I graduated from high school in 2011, so I would have been just a little bit older than Allie at the time,
Yeah. Yeah.
and so your story and your energy and just you as a person just really struck me when I met you at Crimecon because the worst things can happen in the blink of an eye on an ordinary afternoon, and it doesn't make any sense. And from my understanding of research as well, it sounds like police really mishandled a lot of the investigation, and it sounds like you guys did a lot of your own investigating. Can you tell me a little bit more about that?
Absolutely. So yeah, I feel like we were forced to do everything that we could because law enforcement called her a runaway. That same night that she went missing, Mason and some of his friends went out in his truck around the neighborhood to see if they could see her. And me and John had gone over to a couple of her friends' houses and called people and basically exhausted, everywhere that we could have driven or stopped and looked for her. And we got back home and, we were hoping, well, some time has gone by, maybe she's home. And, she still wasn't home. So we decided then to call and report her missing. And so when the sheriff's office showed up at our house, it was a female deputy, and we let her in the house and talked for just a brief few minutes. She looked in Allie's room, turned around and walked out, and started walking towards the front door. She's like, "Oh, Allie's." Probably at a friend's house. Y'all had a fight. Y'all, could have had a fight, and she's off cooling off somewhere. And I'm like, no, we didn't have a fight. She was supposed to be at work. She wasn't at work. Um, you know, and they're like, oh well, call us in the morning when she comes home. And I thought that was really strange, because that's not what happens in the movies. You call to report somebody missing and they take the report and they start looking.
Yeah, that's certainly not what should happen, and it's frustrating when it's like an adult or a young adult that goes missing and they won't investigate unless it's been 24 hours because they can leave on their own free will. But if they're younger, that's when that should it's really like contradicts itself, their rules with
Right.
that. And labeling somebody as a runaway who has no past history of trying to run away or no indication of being unhappy at home is just I can only imagine for you and your husband was incredibly frustrating.
It was. And so they didn't take a report, didn't write anything down, and basically said, call us tomorrow. So it was a struggle from the very first day. And for the longest time, I didn't even have a relationship with law enforcement, just because of the way they treated us.
That's not okay, and it's frustrating because it's not the first story or person going missing of its kind where that is how investigations are handled, and I see time and time again families having to pour their own resources into investigating their missing loved ones, so and that's hard, not everybody's able to do that, you're still working, you're still
Yeah.
the world around you is still moving, so my heart very much goes out to you guys for that being your experience. Was when you guys did do your ground searches, did you find anything? Because it sounds like she just literally vanished into thin air.
She literally vanished. So 2 days had gone by, and we didn't know what to do other than to let our friends and family know. And so we made our own missing person flyer and put our phone numbers on there, which was a huge mistake. Don't ever put your own phone numbers out there. um, we've just felt like we were forced to, because we weren't getting help. And so I posted on Facebook what was going on, and one of my friends from Girl Scout Council suggested that I call the Laura Recovery Center. And so I called them, and they came to our house the very next day, and they 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 took this and ran with it. They, meaning in a good way, they started actually doing things. And I would say in another 2 days after that, they were set up at a church just down the street. They set up a command center and started asking all of their volunteers to come out and search. And, to answer your question about was anything found, absolutely nothing of Allie's has been found ever. We had dogs. We had, well, there weren't really drones back then, but um, dogs. Dogs came out. People on horseback. People on ATVs. Mainly foot searchers, and they showed up by the hundreds, and started walking in the woods and the ditches, and um, and when they start looking in the woods, you know what they're looking for. That was very hard to deal with, because then you're facing your child possibly being found in the woods.
You're living in fear with every step and every hour that you guys are searching of what you could find,
Yeah,
I imagine.
yeah,
I'm sorry that you guys had to go through that.
yeah. It was very difficult. I remember more of the feelings versus like what actually happened. I guess because it was so stressful, I don't remember a lot of details for from those first couple of weeks. Allie's father, John, I lean on him a lot for those first couple of weeks, because he remembers, and I don't. I remember more of the feelings than what actually happened.
Yeah, it's almost like your body goes into protect you mode in those moments when things become too much in that way.
Yeah.
And feeling that is it's overwhelming. I mean, now what did like as John's recollection was, what did anything happen in those first few days in terms of investigators being any kind of helpful or any tips that came in over those first few days or months?
We had a lot of tips come in. So I stayed at Command Center, and he went he went to the high school, and he talked to the people at the bus barn. They let him look at the surveillance that was on the bus from that day. There's a Burger King across the street from the high school. So he went over there and talked to people. He went to the Burger Barn, of course, and spoke to them. They have a camera, but it was only on a 24-hour loop. So there was no recording there, but they said that they never saw Allie. He did get surveillance from the gas station at the intersection. So while he was at the gas station, they looked at it, at a certain time period, and never saw Allie. So they burned him a copy, and when he brought it home, I was forced. I felt like I was forced to go buy a laptop, so I had a brand new laptop, and we were able to watch that surveillance together. and we never saw Ali walking across any of the surveillance. But there was tons of cars that were driving by, so we figured that we would give that to the runaway division, which was handling the case at the time. Finally, and turns out a couple of months after we handed it over to them, they lost it. Yeah.
How
So
do you lose? Mm, I mean, I've seen it before, but and that was the only copy you guys had.
yeah, we didn't think that we would have to make copies of everything once we handed
No.
things over. So the case is currently with Harris County Homicide because we kept begging and begging for more help. And so by the time that the homicide department took the case, they never even saw the surveillance video to be able to look at the cars at the intersection, or to try to check license plate numbers and stuff like that.
And yeah, because anybody that could have potentially picked her up, who knows what they would have seen on that surveillance.
Exactly.
Has there any, in your opinion, ever been any viable sightings of Allie afterwards, like in any other parts of Texas or any other states?
No, nothing that's been viable. Several times we thought, oh, maybe this is finally the one, and like we followed tips to Columbus, Ohio, and because people kept saying that there's a girl that goes by the name Alley Cat that says she's from Texas, and oh yeah, she looks like Allie, and after we left and came home a couple of months later, the local Columbus Police Department finally found who they were calling Alley Cat, and they texted me a picture of her, and it looked absolutely nothing like my Allie.
That's so disappointing.
Yeah, it wasn't even the right color eyes.
Ugh,
And I understand, people wanting so much to help, and you know, but it was very frustrating.
100%. It's like re-traumatizing with every possible hint or tip or and not to mention that it takes resources away from, viable searches or tips, so but I do understand what you mean, people do kinda see what they wanna see. Um, Now I know that it's been 16 years, and every anniversary, more awareness kinda goes out there. I know that police often receive tips most often on anniversaries of disappearances. Has there been anything over the last 5 years or so that gives you any indication that she could potentially be out there somewhere?
Not really. Um, I mean, as much as I push on those big days, like her birthday in February, and then her missing anniversary date in April. I try to get news coverage and just remind people that she's out there. The tips come in, like we used to get tips saying that, oh, well, I saw her a couple of years at a Walmart in Alaska, and then somebody else would say, oh, well, I saw her yesterday at a Walmart in Florida, uh, you know, um, and, as, as wonderful if it would be, for me to go to that Walmart in a completely different state, um,
I
it's,
always wonder how that works, like, can you gain access to surveillance cameras within Walmarts if it's involving a police investigation or a possible follow-up?
um, we
Without
wouldn't.
you having to go there, I mean.
Yeah. Unfortunately, it would take law enforcement to issue a subpoena. Um, for that type of surveillance. And, at the very beginning, um, when we were very active in the investigation, we did do that with, well, we asked law enforcement to do that several times. And I know for a fact that sometimes they just refused. They're like, nah, it's probably not her. Yeah, it's very difficult when that type of information comes in. And then we get through my Facebook page, Hope for Ali. I used to get people all the time that would send me pictures from Facebook profiles, for girls that would look like Allie, where they would wear the same, type of black eyeliner and wear the little hats that Allie used to. And they would send me real grainy or pixelated photos. And I'm like, well, I can't really tell anything from that photo. Can you at least go back to that profile and send me the link where I can go and look at it? And I've done that a lot, this past 16 years, and I'll go to that Facebook profile and look at the photos. And like if you scroll over the next photo, it shows the same young lady where they have brown eyes and completely different nose. And but the picture that someone saw and sent to me, was similar to Allie. So yeah, I've had to do that a lot.
So you've had to do a lot of your own digging.
Yes. And I'm okay with that because it gives me a little more peace of mind that instead of me just taking in the information and sending it to law enforcement, I actually know that I have cleared those leads or tips, you know. And then I don't have to bother law enforcement with stuff like that. Now, there have been a couple of them that were questionable, that I would send over to them. But, they're not legally obligated to give me any feedback on the information that I send them.
And it's not like I know in the digital world now, everybody feels very accessible and reaching out to them, and it's not like you could message these people and directly ask them.
Right.
Yeah. Is there any calls to action or anything that my listeners and myself can do to support you and your family's search for Allie?
I don't think really a call to action. And I've done that a couple of times and it kind of pissed off law enforcement. Putting their information out there, and everybody would call them and email them, and as much as the squeaky wheel gets the oil, I try to go about it in a nicer way. Now, the detectives that we have currently are very receptive to me, which the ones that I had before basically told my private investigator, don't call me, don't text me, don't email me, basically drop dead. So thank goodness he's not with the homicide department anymore. um, but, I guess just, if you come across any missing person flyer, just share it. That's it. All it takes is just 2 clicks, just to touch it and share it. And not just alleys, but any of them. I mean, missing persons flyers are all over social media. And when an Amber Alert, as annoying as they are, when they come across your phone, don't ignore it. Because I have seen that in public before, people complaining about an Amber Alert, and Allie didn't get an Amber Alert. And to if that were your child, you would want an Amber Alert. You would want everybody in the entire world to know that your child is missing. And I feel that there needs to be a little more compassion when it comes to missing persons.
100%, both in how we handle missing persons cases and in how people address, families and friends and people that are just trying to find their missing loved ones, because being dismissed in a situation where you're just, trying to get a little bit of peace of mind and answers for Allie, that's not okay. So, I know that you know that me and my group of friends and fellow podcasters are trying to create a space that's a little bit more like that, because there are so many families that don't receive the right attention, either initially by law enforcement or at all, and by people in their community, and it sounds like people in your guys' community really stepped up for you guys,
They
but
did.
law enforcement
Yeah,
did not.
exactly. Yeah, when we were doing searches, we were doing a fundraisers, to try to raise a reward fund. And I mean, me and my mom were gifted several cases of apples, and we turned them into apple pies and sold them. And to help raise money, because we were trying to feed the searchers that were showing up for us every day. And that's the least that I could do for them. Yeah. And
You
these
had
are
such a big heart. I'm sure
thank
they were
you.
the best apple pies ever.
Well, it's the least I could do, is to buy Gatorades and order pizzas or Subway sandwiches or something, for all of those people that showed up every day for us.
Yeah, that's really amazing. Are you still in touch with any of Allie's friends or anybody from her world back in 2016? Or sorry, 2010?
It's okay. Yeah, as a matter of fact, anytime I have, either a fundraiser or just an awareness event, not always the same ones show up, but yeah, they show up. And they're in their 30s now, and they have their own kids. And um, it's so special for me to see them with their own kids, and it's also sad at the same time, because then I think that, gosh, Allie would have kids too. um I'm sorry, I don't mean to cry so much on you, but
No, please. It's a normal human reaction. It's hopefully you're okay with me, sharing that, because I understand that being vulnerable can be really difficult sometimes. Don't apologize for being sad. Do not apologize. My heart is with you for sure.
thank you. But yeah, I don't remember what the point of me saying that was, but I
No,
guess
just like
her
anybody
friends.
that's still in your world and in your community from back in those days that's
Yeah.
still with you along for this ride.
Yeah. So I'm friends with a lot of her friends on social media. And, anytime I have an event, some of them will reach out to me, and ask if I need help. And, uh, or, some of the searchers that showed up, and, I didn't know who any of them were. I would probably say like three, maybe four of them. Uh, they've become my really good friends now. And, I always like to say, something like, there is some good that comes from, tragedy. And, I've met a lot of wonderful people on this journey. And, I got to meet all of y'all, at Crimecon. That's as part of this journey. And I'm so grateful for you, and for the rest of the young ladies that took the time to stop and come and talk to me.
No, thank you. Well, I can promise you that every single one of us is is covering Allie's story, on our shows, so, I mean, hopefully, good couple solid thousands of people will hear her story, and hopefully the right one will hear her story and know something. With the homicide department handling the case, I mean, I know that that's hard. That's a hard word to hear when it comes to your child. Um, being her mom, in your heart, what do you think happened? Do you think that there is a possibility that she is still alive? And I know that's a very tough question, but I'm so close with my mom even when I'm having a bad day. She seems to know, so
Yeah,
a mother's
it's
instinct is a real thing.
exactly. I fully believe in that. And my feelings have changed over the years. I guess it's been 16 years, and with the direction that the investigation has gone, um, I used to have all the hope in the world, that she was still alive out there. But that unfortunately that has changed these past few years. Now we're just looking for what happened to her, and then hopefully a recovery just to bring her home.
And bring you and your family some kind of closure, because I always say when I cover missing persons stories that there isn't a rest day, there isn't a relief day there, it's just it keeps going for families, and I would love to know, and I hope that you do something for yourself, to kinda help take care of you, because I know that this has been really hard on your family, your marriage, everything, so I hope you're managing to take care of yourself a little bit too,
I
because mental
do.
health is important.
Yeah, oh, it definitely is. I people sometimes ask me, if I see a therapist, and I said no, I have friends.
Honestly, girls talking is the best therapy, a solid girls' night.
Absolutely. Two of my really close friends came with me to Crimecon, and they didn't stay at the table with me the entire time, but just knowing that they were there, was so important for me.
100%, that's a big deal. I was about to ask who the I got to as I was walking, because I was looking to speak with you again before I left, I, would see if you were at the table or not, and I did see somebody else there, so I was gonna ask you who that was.
Yeah, it was probably Bridget. Yeah, Bridget, I've known her since junior high school, and we didn't just to brag a little bit on her. We didn't hang out in the same crowd. She was a cheerleader, and she was a smarty pants, in all of the AP classes, and but at our reunion, I think it was our 20th reunion. It kind of tells how old I am, but we
You
reconnected. But we reconnected at our reunion, and it was just like when you meet somebody like that, it's just like it feels like you've been friends forever, and that's what it was like. And just when I had the very first time I heard of CrimeCon, I didn't even know what it was. Me, Bridget, Rhonda, and Lori were all in a group text all together all the time. And, I texted, I'm like, does anybody want to go to CrimeCon? And, immediately from Bridget and Rhonda, it was like, yes, but what is it?
I love that. Yes first, ask questions later. That those are good friends right there.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Aw, so was this your first year attending then?
It was my second.
Okay.
The first time we went was in Denver, which was last year. And after that experience, I mean, I guess they were more worried about my experience, but it was absolutely amazing. That's when we decided to have a table this year. And I'm so glad I did because I've met so many wonderful people. And then my table was next to Miss Maggie, and that was just the perfect pairing. And then I was across from Nick Mick, and yeah, so it was awesome.
Yeah, I do have a call scheduled with Dr. Maggie as well, in the next couple of weeks here, so, she was very wonderful as well, and I know in some cases it's nice to see that you're not alone in the weight of what you're dealing with, but it's also sad to know that there are so many other families out there that are like that.
Yeah, yeah,
But I'm glad that you were able to get a table there and hopefully it did generate, a little bit more traffic for you because I know from being a person that was wandering around, it is hard to sometimes find organic ways to interact with people.
yes,
Um, but I'm glad to know that you had a positive experience there
I
because
did.
Vegas was hot this year, I will tell you that.
It was hot and it was expensive, and
Oh my god, was it ever.
it was crazy. Yeah.
Next year, it is gonna be hosted in Orlando, Florida. Are you gonna be going next year?
I have already started fundraising, so
Yeah.
I would very much love to go. So I maxed out my credit card going to this year's, but yeah. So hopefully I can fundraise, and because I haven't bought tickets or anything yet, and hopefully they don't sell out. I've been seeing some things where they've been selling out, but I think that's only for maybe the pre-buy tickets or something. But yeah.
Well, that said then, can you tell, my listeners and myself where we can, help donate to or share your fundraiser for this? Because you should be there.
Oh, well, the only thing I have going on right now through July 3rd is a custom ink fundraiser. So I'm not sure if you're familiar with that website or not. So you can customize things and order them. And they also offer a fundraising option. So what I did was I designed a t-shirt, and I have a link on my blog on my website. It's alexandrialowitzer.com.
Okay, I will find that right now,
Okay.
so I can share it in the show notes.
Oh, thank you.
Of
Um,
course.
so my sister gave me the idea, and then also ChatGPT helped me kind of do some fine tuning with it.
Love
But
that.
it's let's see, is this picture that I have on this shirt, this picture of Allie, which is also this picture. And what it says, well, if you're going to pull it up, on the back of the shirt, it says, "Take Allie with you." So when you read about it, I want people to take Allie on summer vacation with them. I want them to wear the t shirt. If they go to Disneyland, I want them to wear it on a road trip or just to the grocery store. And, I want them to be a walking billboard, basically. And if somebody stops and asks them about the T-shirt, then tell them who is on the T-shirt and what it's about. And I'm hoping to sell all 100 of them, before July 3rd. So um, I've got to get on there because my grandson wants one. He wants a Auntie Alley T-shirt.
Aw. That's very sweet. Well, I myself will be purchasing one, absolutely, and, I will share it with my show notes for this episode, and on social media as well as much as I can, because
Thank
I
you.
agree, we should take Allie with us, so I, I just wanna say thank you again so much for coming on today and sharing your story and Allie's story and, yeah, and just being so open and honest and vulnerable.
Oh, you're very
'Cause I know
welcome.
it's hard. I know it's hard.
It is
So,
hard, and I get embarrassed when I
don't
cry,
be
but
ever.
I tell myself just spit out what you're trying to say. Basically, you know, 'cause
Anybody that would give you a hard time for being emotional is simply dead inside, in my opinion. So be you, be vulnerable, because we're all just humans at the end of the day, and like I've been saying on every episode that I do, like Ali could be anybody, could be any one of us, this situation, because things happen so fast and it is really scary. So I always tell people to, head on a swivel, not to say that Allie's wasn't, but just, be aware of your surroundings. I see so many people and they're glued to their cell phones just walking around and I'm like, "Come on."
yeah.
But thank you so much again. Like I said, I will share that, and, is there anything else that you wanna say before we log off for our recording?
I don't know. I guess just, to reiterate what I said earlier, it's just, when you see a missing person flyer, share it, because it's very important to us families, um, that we continue to keep our loved one's face out there. And, because without people like you and your listeners and the people that actually pay attention, I mean, we wouldn't have any hope left. So that's what keeps us going.
100%. So, go and get your Ally shirts, guys. Donate to the cause if you can. And, thank you, Joanne, for being with me here today. And I will see you guys next week for a brand new episode. And in the meantime, remember that you are wanted, you are loved, and you deserve to be here. And I will see you next week.